Welcome back to the Leading Detection podcast. Today, we're joined by Julia. Thank you very much for joining us today, Julia.
Thanks for having me. Hi.
It's going to be a good conversation. We're going to talk about the evolution of modern fraud. So Julia's in a very good position, being at SumSub and the great work that they do. So we're going to tap into that experience and talk about that today. So, yeah, a lot of people are talking about how fraud is becoming a lot more sophisticated, very abstract comment. So what has actually changed inside fraud attacks that you've noticed over the past 12, 18 months?
Well, before we saw that targets were mostly about like artifacts, like documents or like videos, photos, and so on. And now what we see that verification systems or like fraud prevention systems itself, it's a target already. And I'd say that fraudsters today, they try to pretend as a and behave as a real persons, and they try to emulate devices or like interactions with systems and do whatever they can do uh, to force systems think that it's real interaction, like human being interactions.
And so what's kind of changed in recent times? So what are they doing? What are you seeing that simply wasn't possible 2 years ago?
Well, it's an era of AI, of course, and it's AI everywhere. And now they can generate full identities through AI systems, test them quickly and scale them quickly. And even more, last year, not last, oh my God, it's 2026 already.
Yeah.
In 2024, our key trend and key topic of the report was about democratization of the fraud, that everyone around the world who has only one, I don't know, €1,000 on their account and internet access, they can start doing fraud, to be honest, because there was a rise of fraud as a service offers around the world. And this accessibility made fraud that dangerous. And now these fraudsters who made money on these services of these authors, now they can invest this like money on very advanced infrastructures and build very heavy and very advanced like systems or tools, and can scale their attacks to really huge amount of attempts.
So the barrier to entry is getting close to zero. Anyone can do it. There's even how-tos online.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can find a lot of ads online where you can see, uh, oh, I'm selling some credentials to certain, I don't know, banking platforms, or this is a starter pack for a fraudster. If you're interested, join. Yeah.
So obviously, attacking identity is something that's been around for a long time. The sophistication appears to be going more about telemetry and behaviour. So what do we mean when we say that, especially on a technical level?
Well, in a simple words, identity, it's about artifacts like IDs or like selfies or documents. And telemetry is everything around them, like device data, it's session timing or like interaction speed, or how you move your mouse, how you touch your screen, how you type, and so on, or camera behavior, or like network signals. So everything around that, it's telemetry that now are like in danger.
So we're seeing this is where the fraudsters are now starting to be even more. When we talk about sophistication, this is where they're up in the game and going after this telemetry level.
Yes, exactly. They're trying to pretend as a real person by manipulating this context behind that. And attackers try to make, session look like normal, realistic delays, because humans are not like bots. They are not moving mouse in a certain, gestures, right?
Yeah.
And interactions with platforms, they are also like kind of sometimes even crazy, because again, machines are perfect and humans are not so perfect. Or, for example, fresh devices or some other signals. So this fraudsters, they're trying to pretend again as a normal people by emulating these signals.
So we talk about signals, especially on the fraud fighting side, the signals that we're looking for and indicators that it's fraud and not a genuine user. So what signals would you say fraudsters are trying to manipulate first? Where are they
I
going
mean,
to?
easiest signals to control its device, of course, identity, like session timing. For example, fraud appears in certain time of the day or time of the hour, and of course interaction patterns. For example, like making sure sessions aren't too fast again, because people again not that fast in real
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Reusing devices in a way that looks new, or injection video feeds with that pass basic liveness checks, for example. So all these signals are like a first step for fraudster.
Yeah, all sounds very, very technical. It sounds like maybe the traditional document-centric checks are just not cutting the mustard anymore. They're not sufficient.
I mean, it's still, of course, sufficient because, still document-centric verifications, it's like a first point. And uh, we believe it sums up that multi-layered approach should be implemented in the company because, I don't know, 80% of all attacks, they are not stupid, but they
Yeah.
are obvious, and you can catch them with traditional systems. But the rest 20, they're
Uh-huh.
more they lead more damage, of course, and they're more sophisticated. And for them, yes, we need something stronger.
Yeah, and so we've seen it a lot. We've seen kind of more video-based identity checks, but again, as we've upped the level of protection, deepfakes, synthetic identity have come on the scene. So people, a lot of people who maybe aren't inside fraud would see that as flawless, right? It's a video of me, I'm checking myself,
Yeah,
but they're getting in that as well. So how does that even happen technically?
Well, yes, it's a rise of deepfakes, and again in 2024, for example, we saw X10, 10 times rise of deepfake cases around the world, and now it's commodity. I mean, everyone can generate them if they have an access again to the internet. And um, what is so dangerous here, because liveness, it's a good technology behind that, but deepfakes today aren't designed to look perfect. They are designed to look plausible.
Yeah.
Real users aren't perfect either, and real users, they take selfies with bad lighting, with shaking hands, awkward angles, motion blurs, and so on. And these deepfakes today, what we see, they also have these patterns, look not like perfect picture what we see in Instagram, but with some human-like, issues. Um, and the problem here is that in many systems, these attempts, they are going to a manual review.
Mm-hmm.
And again, people they can, of course, see if it's obvious deepfake, but it's too perfect. But if it has all these, issues, human-like issues, it's really hard to detect, and it's kind of good manipulation by fraudsters.
Yeah, so it's really kind of tapping into because we maybe 10 years ago, we would have thought that our biometrics were safe, right? And as we head to more of a digital world, our digital identity is more of an identity than our real world identity. And with that is the possibility of synthetic identities. So there seems to be a lot of confusion about what this actually means and what this is. So where we are now, what defines synthetic identity or modern synthetic identity?
Well, modern synthetic identity in 2025 and
Mm.
this year 2026 is a fully like manufactured, not uh, partially stolen.
Mhm.
And like the name, address, date of birth, email, selfie, and sometimes even behavioral patterns again are generated together using AI. And this
Mm.
builds like a real identity. And these identities don't belong to a real person at all, which means they start with no negative history in like platforms and no breach exposure or like no immediate red flags. And
Mm.
in our data, for example, this isn't niche problem anymore, and synthetic identities like fraud now accounts for 21, I believe, percentages of all first type fraud cases around the world. Of course, in certain regions it's higher, in certain regions it's lower, but overall it's 21 percentages of all cases, and it's huge. And that scale explains why synthetics are so effective, to be honest. They don't
Mm.
trip legacy alerts because they're like nothing wrong with them yet.
So why are they so hard to catch even after onboarding? Why is it so difficult?
Yes, I mean, it's of course possible to detect, and to be honest, we detected them all, of course, last years, and this, of course, year. But sometimes it's difficult. Why? Because of victim. And when it's a real person and someone stole their money,
Mm.
they like complain about it to a bank or to a crypto platform, of course, about it. But if it's a synthetic identity, it means that the real victim, a company itself, right? And money can be gone only like in like some months after the onboarding period. That's why it's hard to detect them after onboarding.
Mm. And with this kind of modern fraud landscape, we'll probably get onto the hot stuff now and AI fraud agents. So
Yeah.
it's quite a new concept, the AI fraud agent kind of ecosystem. So what's so interesting about this space? How does it differ from the bots, the scripts that we've seen previously?
Uh, well, traditional bots, like they follow some rules, some scripts, right?
Mm.
And AI fraud agents, like per se goals. And instead of executing a fixed script, these agents, they can observe outcomes and they
Mhm.
can adjust its behavior, its tactics, and tries again and again and again. And it can change like timing of interaction or inputs or device settings, interaction
Mm.
style based on like what worked or failed, for example. So for a reason we call them like learning system, right? So they learn, they adapt, and that ability to learn and adapt is what separates them from older automation systems like bots, for example.
Mm.
And last year we discovered some attempts of these AI fraud agents. And we believe that this year and next couple years will be like a rise of AI fraud agents.
Mm. Sounds like these agents are quite significantly more dangerous than automation.
Yes, because again, it learns and adapts, and every failed attempt becomes like a training data for them. And over
Mm.
time, the agent coverage like on the exact behavior that slips through a specific system. That's why it's very
Mm.
dangerous, and uh, people should know and worry about it. Yeah.
So are they already these early versions that we're seeing? They're already in production. They're already making s- steps towards being quite meaningful, quite dangerous.
Yes, absolutely. Again, we saw some, like, I'd say hundreds of attempts of this
Hmm.
AI agents, but we see that it increasing like uh, very fast, couple months. And yeah, we will see more and more attempts with AI fraud agents.
Mm. So it's quite worrying how they're learning, they're doing better. Feedback loops jumps to mind.
Yeah, yes, it is very worrying.
And so, what signals tell an attacker that they're getting closer to an approval? So using these feedback loops, what indicators do they get?
Uh, well, I'd say it's like longer sessions,
Mm,
fewer challenges, that verification systems are like forcing them to do retries instead of hard log, for example,
mm,
or being routed to a manual review. These all signals can, tell these AI fraud agents that it's kind of successful.
mm. And how fast can these systems adapt, especially compared to human review cycles?
I'd say like minutes versus days. And like AI powered attacks can adapt after a handful of attempts,
Mm,
while human led processes often reviews cases in batches. So, yeah, it scales attacks very fast.
mm. It's crazy, right? Crazy,
Oh,
and a
yeah,
lot,
it's crazy.
a lot of technical manipulation that's going on, and there's a rise of this. So there's tampering, telemetry, tampering. All sounds very technical, but is there any examples that you can give that how fraudsters are manipulating devices or sessions, kind of during maybe verification?
Well, a common example is when a fraudster uses an emulator or a virtual environment
Mhm.
or modified device to pretend it's a brand new phone. They inject a pre-recorded or AI generated again
Mm,
video into the camera feed, control again timing, so it's look human, and replay a clean verification session.
mm,
So to the system, the camera is active, the
yeah.
device looks fresh, and the interaction appears normal, even though nothing is actually live.
So why is it so hard to detect if you're only looking at one signal at a time? I'm guessing.
Well, because each signal looks legit itself in isolation, and
Mm,
only when you combine all these patterns, all these signals in together, you can see the full picture, right? And fraud only becomes visible when you connect all these signals. Then you like see repeated device patterns. Then you see similar behavioral across like sessions, network
mm,
overlap, or like I don't know, same background in certain like liveness and so on.
yeah.
So you combine it all together, and then you see the full picture and can do something about it.
Mm. A lot of good work. Can you call it good work from the fraudsters side? That there's a very strong movements that they're making, right? And on the defense side, there needs to be some significant architectural shifts, right?
Yeah.
Verification was obviously a big one. It's no longer a single movement. So, what's happening in that shift?
Well, because risks they are not stop or at onboarding,
Mm,
it evolves all the time. That's why one-time verification can confirm that this identity looks legit at this specific moment, right?
yeah.
But like real world usage is dynamic and accounts change devices, locations, behavior, and even intent. And that they can sell their identity, credentials to some platforms, or they can just start doing fraud. I mean, again,
Yeah.
people are crazy, right? So that's why verification is a moving from a single checkpoint to a continuous like risk assessment.
Mm,
And the question is no longer just like, was this identity good or not? But does this account continue to behave good over time? And
mm,
this approach doesn't replace like user verification or KYC systems. No, it extend them ensuring this that strong onboarding decisions remain during the whole customer journey, customer life cycle.
So it's just continuous identity risk.
Yes, it's exactly what uh, we believe in it. It's continuous and ongoing re-verification, transaction monitoring, behavior analysis, and post-onboarding signals that we can analyze.
So where's this come from? How have or where have you seen fraud rings exploit a gap between onboarding and yeah, would you call it post onboarding behavior?
Uh, well, we see it a lot in, for example, money muse schemes when, fraudsters, for example, goes to some place, engage some, I don't know, 50 people, give them some money, they bypass verification, and they're all legit. I mean, they're like real people with no bad behaviors and everything, so they can bypass it and it will be okay.
Mm,
But then this fraudster receive all these credentials of these 50 people, for example, and start doing this mulling itself, like money mulling. And this is how one example can show how onboarding it's standalone is not
mm,
enough. And uh, fraudsters, they know that, of course, and they use onboarding as an entry point, right? And that's why it's really important to be able to merge these accounts, like
mhm,
users, into rings or networks to by different patterns, like by, I don't know, locations, device intelligence data, or by again background data, or proof of addresses, or maybe some other similar patterns that are possible
mm.
to detect, and then merge them and understand that, okay, this is a network and they're looks now they all look now legit, but
Yeah.
in, I don't know, 6 months they are start doing fraud.
So when we're looking at the architecture of this, and there's different layers, right? Got document logic, device behavior you mentioned. Which layer do you think matters the most at where we are now?
Well, I'm product manager for transaction monitoring, I'd say, and fraud prevention. It's my favorite part. But of course, we need all these layers, and
Mhm,
that's why at SumSap we are believing in multi-layered approach. We call it this way,
mhm,
and it's the biggest win come from this approach. Documents and liveness stop again basic fraud, obvious fraud that come constantly, and I don't know, again, 80 percentages of all these cases could be stopped at the beginning. Then device and behavioral signals catch evasion and different automation tools. And then transaction monitoring or activity monitoring shows what happened after onboarding. And
mhm,
um, if I had summarize this multi-layered approach, I'd say that document tools, document verification tools, the answer is this ID good or not, it's
mhm.
legit or not, possible or not. Then liveness answers is this person alive, present.
Yeah.
Then device and behavioral answer is this session real or not, if it's a person or not again. And then transaction monitoring systems, the answer is this activity legit over time, if it's still legit, if it's this user specifically
Mm,
is still good, or it or them behaving in a very wrong way. So
yeah.
this multi-layered approach can help.
So many different areas and layers. Would you say some are maybe underinvested? Maybe we focus on one too much and it's overinvested. Do you see this in companies?
Yeah, I mean, I came from cybersecurity, where it's also was common mistake when when a company wants to one to have one button that you
Mm,
press. I'm like prevent it, and that's all. And then you forget about systems. And same for fraud prevention. But we need to think that fraud prevention is a strategy, not even a product itself. It's the full strategy that involves like trainings, internal, external ones, right? And tools and policies. And what we see that front door, again, this onboarding could be sometimes very, very strong. And companies invest in it a lot of money. But sometimes we see that post-onboarding or like this ongoing monitoring tools could be done manually in certain companies. And it's not the best approach, to be honest. And if they want to see the full picture again and to catch like fraud. And for example, on our data, we see that 76% of all fraud, they happens after onboarding. And that's why it's so important to have this post-onboarding tools. So I'd say this second part kind of a little bit has, less love from companies.
Yeah, I hear that. We spoke a lot about sophistication. If you read the headlines everywhere, it's increased sophistication, increased volume, increase. Everything's getting worse. But some regions are actually showing a decline in fraud rates, but the sophistication is still rising. So why is that? Why is it more dangerous, the sophistication rising, than the volume?
Um, well, that fact that fraud rate is like decreasing, it creates a false sense of safety, and when people hear it, that some percentages, fraud percentages drop,
Yeah.
like teams tend to relax and keep calm. I mean, in general, of course, it's good to be in calm, but not relax. And fraud remains is far more engineered and damaging. And this is what we see that like around the world over year to year, 180 percentages increase in like these sophisticated attacks. And yes, the amount of these attacks, they decreased, but the damage increased very high.
So what's the risk in measuring success purely on kind of fraud as a percentage?
Well, fraud percentages is a volume metric, right? Not a damage metric. It doesn't tell you what got like badly, how costly it was, or how long it stayed hidden. A company can win on fraud rate, but still lose a lot of money. And that's why like it's important to being shaked and awake and understand that's like even if a fraud rate decreased, there are still a lot of bad guys and girls around the world.
These kind of figures, the way it's changing, there's more insights, like you said, like how long the fraud was going on for, the volume. How is this changing the way that fraud teams, even compliance teams, are working internally on these issues?
Well, one recent example that I heard like this week, it's in certain companies, in big companies, financial institutions, now they are combining fraud prevention teams and anti-fraud teams and compliance team under one C-level like, title. And now it's a problem like that before they had some gaps between these teams, and now they're changing it this like working together, and they're moving from just checklist to risk operations. And instead of only like asking did we pass KYC, team ask what's the risk of this certain user over time. And we see it a lot. And in our platform, compliance teams and anti-fraud teams, they are working together in one platform. And how they communicate between each other, how they interact on certain cases together to check from different perspectives, right, on the case.
Mm. And this merging, new tooling, new strategies. We've mentioned AI on the fraudster side. What about AI on the defense side? So AI pilots have been mentioned. Agents could even come into play. How are you seeing that on the defense side?
We call it fight AI with AI.
Mhm.
And this is exactly what we believe companies right now should do, because AI, yes, it's dangerous part
Mhm.
of it. It's kind of alarming, but it's a positive side of it as well, and it could be useful for I don't know, analysis of some certain cases and summarize them, for example. Or
Mm.
AI can help with spot patterns across logs. Or if it's a regulated company, AI tools can help draft reports for a regulator like SAR, STR, and others.
Yeah.
And of course, AI can reduce manual time. And in on the more advanced side, I'd say AI can propose next best actions. For
Mhm.
example, when to stand up, what evidence should be requested for a specific I don't know, user, or which clusters look like a ring, and they can combine this these identities or these accounts into a network. And AI helps teams keep pace without adding frictions for a good users. And it's also a huge headache when to find this balance between keep fraudsters out, but also satisfied users in the platform. And this is exactly where AI can also help.
A lot of promise there. And if we do look to the future, you've got a good vantage point with the work that you do. So, what have you seen globally? What are the technical blind spots that are popping up that you've seen within fraud prevention?
Uh, Again, as I mentioned, treating fraud as a one-time onboarding problem,
Mhm.
because again, people are making tough choices during their life, and they can start
Yeah.
doing fraud after certain, I don't know, account,
Mhm.
cases. Or they again can sell it, or they can lose their accounts, right? I mean, uh, phishing on rise, and it's more believable now, again, thanks to AI. And
Yeah.
the AI writes a lot of scripts for these emails, for calls, and so on.
Mm.
So it's easy to lose your credentials to any platform. So that's why it's common blind spot to treat fraud prevention as a one-time onboarding problem.
Mm. Okay. And if we fast forward 18 months, look into the future, get our crystal ball out, what do you think what will fraud look like if defenses don't adapt? They kind of stick to the status quo, just keep doing what they're doing now.
Hmm, let me think. Mm, well, more attackers will look clean at the
Hmm.
surface, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we'll see fewer obvious fakes, again, thanks to AI.
Mm.
And more multi-step uh, operations with combining site-agentic identities and deepfakes and telemetry masking and fast cash out and long game abuse and so on. And I don't know, the fraud won't be loud. I'd say it will be quiet and
Mm.
persistent and designed to survive multiple layers of checks, because again, we believe in multi-layered approach, but
Yeah.
fraudsters, they also can listen your podcast and understand that, right?
Very true. Very true. Hopefully not, but you never know.
Yeah.
Probably are. What would you say the, not to be too negative, but what would you say the realistic worst case scenario would be?
Well, um, the worst case, it's like industrialization of the fraud itself, right? I
Mm,
mentioned this democratization of fraud, and everyone can start doing bad things if
mm,
they have a little money on their account and internet connection. But I believe, and I believe someone from this space also can agree with me that industrialization of the fraud will be like a realistic worst case scenario,
mm,
and the fleets of AI like driven agents that test constantly 24 hours, like 7 days a week,
mm,
and more like feedback loop and learning for these systems in every rejection, again in like um, I'd say also coordinated attacks across services, because I believe they can communicate each other in the future.
mm.
And these systems, they don't need a break, right? They are not human. I mean, they don't need sleep, they don't need eat, they don't need, I don't know, go outside. So uh, their main goal, like, I mean, this system's main goal is like just to find a small gap between
Mhm.
teams, tools, stages of customer journey. And then once they scale it fast. I'd say, yeah, oh my God, it sounds so
It
great.
does. It does. It a little, just a little bit. But this is worst case scenario, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
hopefully we won't get to that point. But
of
if we are
course.
talking about that, who should be worried? Who should be cautious? Where do you think the fraudsters could hit first? What kind of organizations?
Well, first of all, it's high growth digital businesses, of course, with fast onboarding and real money flows. It's
Mhm,
like fintech, crypto, marketplaces, iGaming platforms, for example.
mhm,
Second, it's like a companies who are like launching their like new regions, because local patterns and data sources aren't tuned yet for them, so they're like lacking of intelligence on these certain markets. And the third, I'd say, it's like organizations with heavy manual review.
yeah.
Again, not because they don't have people and the humans are not good. No, because attackers can iterate faster than human eyes
Mm,
can, react.
yeah. Well, this is worst case scenario, but it's good to talk about this. It's good to understand and be aware of what could happen and where this could go. So it's been a pleasure tapping into this with you, Julia, today. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, thank you for invitation me, having me.
No, it's been great. And yeah, if people want to catch up with you, keep up what you're doing, anything else coming up this year or what you're excited about.
Well, oh my God, so many things. I mean, at SumSub, we are constantly, launching different products and
Mm,
materials around the world to keep fraudsters out and educate companies around the world that to what services they can invest their money to being safe. So stay tuned. We will release our AI verification tool like next month.
okay.
So yeah,
Stay tuned. Keep an eye out for that.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And to the listeners, until next time. Ciao for now.
Thank you, Matt. It was a pleasure.